This is Quigg and Cassius for iField TV in association with Macklin Gym Marbella. Have you had your teeth done?
No.
Oh, sorry. We're on the way back from Divide and Conquer press conference in Hull. We're in the back of a motor.
We are. I had to get out the front to get in the back with you. A lot of people tweeting, asking for an update for a little Coogie Bear interview. Now's the time.
Deliver for the fans.
That's what you love to do. You're all about delivering for the fans.
Like the postman in the front there.
Exactly.
Right, let's talk about the show first this weekend. Glad that Luke Campbell, obviously, it is a tough time. It hasn't been a tough time,
Yeah,
it is a tough time for Luke Campbell right now.
Yeah, I mean, most people know his dad's, terminally ill, and he was in intensive care about 6 weeks ago, and Luke just phoned me up and said, look, I closed the tears and just said, look, I can't do it, I can't get myself in the gym, I'm up late with him and I just want to spend all the moments with him. He was moved to a hospice, and he seems to have stabilised a little bit, and it's a tough time for the family. I saw a tweet from Luke Campbell about perhaps 10 days ago, just finished a gym session. I thought he must only be about 9 stone 12. And phoned him up, asked him about his weight, and we had a chat, and he seemed in a good place. I said, look, I'm just throwing it out there. What do you think about boxing? And he said, well, I think his family wanted him to box as well, and we just talked about momentum. This is a sport where really, if you spend too long out of the game, it really affects you going forward, especially when you're a big name fighter. And I really felt that he needed to fight, to carry that momentum into a big summer fight with Coyle. He went away and he talked to his family, and they all agreed. So I'm really pleased to have him on the card on Saturday.
There's a few good 50-50s, as the fans like to call them. Obviously, Cole and Geffen is a 50-50.
Really good fight. Yeah, I mean, everyone's talking about Coyle versus Campbell. I mean, it's difficult. Obviously, a lot of people. We're leaving Hull, where I was there for the game last night. Everybody's desperate for that fight to happen this summer. But he's got to beat Martin Gethin, and Tommy Coyle has come unstuck before against fighters of lesser ability than Martin Gethin. It's at 9 stone 12, which I think suits Gethin a little bit more. He struggled at lightweight recently, but it's going to be a war. It's what you always get from Tommy Coyle. It's why it's so exciting. He has the ability to get knocked down or knocked out, and he has the ability to knock his opponent out as well. Sam Eggington against Shane Singleton is a brilliant fight. It's a pure 50-50 fight. I was very impressed with Singleton today. I thought he was very calm, very cool. There's been a lot of hype around Sam, mainly from my old man, and the fact that he's been in, done a great job stopping Denton Vassell. Looked great in prize fighters. He's still only young, but he has to keep his cool in this fight. Eggington, I think, is a very neat boxer. Singleton. I think he's going to have a great game plan, and I think Sam's just got to be careful not to let the rounds pass him by. It's a 10-round fight for the WBC international title, and really it's a fight that is going to propel the winner of this onto British and Commonwealth opportunities in the welterweight division. Also on the bill, on the live TV fights, which I pushed hard to get this fight on because I really like it, is Tom Knight against Eric Ocheng over 8 rounds. Tom Knight is a good young prospect who's 5-0. Eric Ocheng is 1 loss away from potentially thinking about hanging his gloves up, I believe. And it's a must-win fight for both of them. So it's a real 50-50 fight. I think you have to favour Ocheng in the fight just for his experience. But Knight's a good young fighter with Dave Coldwell, and I wanted to kick the broadcast off with that because on the bill on Saturday you have got Rocky Fielding returning to action after 9 months out with a broken hand. He's in a fight that should be relatively straightforward for him, and Bradley Saunders is ticking over before the Newcastle show with his new trainer Oliver Harrison. So I felt it was important to get that fight on the broadcast. So you've got 5 fights, and you've got 3 good solid 50-50s there as well. So it's more of a trade show, I think. I think the viewers are going to really enjoy it. It hasn't really got the standout big name in a big fight, but as always, we haven't done our show at the whole Ice Arena that hasn't been fantastic, and I think Saturday's going to be a very pleasing show.
If Campbell and Cole both win Saturday night, will their next fight be against each other for definite?
Yeah, I mean maybe not Campbell because he's in an 8-rounder on Saturday. So
You might get him out.
yeah,
before
one more
then.
time. But for Coyle, no, this is it. You know, he's had a lot of tough fights. You know, Brizuela, obviously Derry Matthews, John Simpson, Brizuela, Katsidis, now Gethin. He's had a good run. So I think he's ready. He's more ready than he'll ever be. He's desperate for the Campbell fight. And you know, it's a fight that the whole city wants to see here.
Realistically, what numbers does that do crowd-wise?
Gate, I think anywhere between 15 and 25,000.
Right. Okay. Right. There's a lot to get through. Let's start with your favourite fighter,
Amir Khan, George Groves.
Kell Brook.
Oh, Kell Brook, yeah.
The WBA have ordered Froch-Ward.
Yeah.
Just explain to me the situation. So
basically, I'll tell you the situation straight up. So the WBA are thinking, you know what, we're not getting a lot of sanction fees out of these boys. One hasn't fought for 9 months, and the other one hasn't fought for 18 months or 20 months or whatever it is. Come on, lads. So they order it against each other. She's like, that's fine, you know. So Andre Ward was never really in our thoughts for the fight. So I sat down with Carl and I said, look, what do you want to do? He said, well, I'm not vacating to Andre Ward, so I'll fight him. I said, all right then. So then I called up BoxNation last night and said, look, Carl, he's up for the fight. What do you want to do? And they said, well, I think Andre's up for the fight. You know, I think he's been out for a long time. We'll have to have a sit down with him. And you know, I saw Andre's tweets last night. I'm not going to start slating Andre Ward, but I think we know who brings the money to that fight. It's Kell Brook. It's a great fight. Andre Ward is pound for pound, arguably the best fighter in the world. But right about now, if Kell Brook is ever going to beat Andre Ward, it's now. You know, with the inactivity and at Nottingham Forest Football Club, you know, and listen, it might still not be enough to beat Andre Ward, but he's got a great chance. So we're trying to look at the numbers and see if it works for Ward. I think he would prefer to have a tune-up fight, but obviously we've got to resolve the issue, so watch this space. I mean, you know, I think it's always been looking like Hopkins or Chavez, and now I think it looks like Hopkins, Chavez or Ward next. So
who would you say right now, today, is the front runner to fight?
Probably
Froch?
Ward, because of the situation. And it just for the first time, I've just seen Carl's blood pressure just raise a little bit, as in, like, you know, talk about Ward, and you know, yesterday I said, can you imagine what it means to you to beat Ward, and you could do it at Forest Ground, and you know, and he would get himself pumped for that fight, and I think that's really what's made him say to me, okay, go and look at it, I'll have that fight, you know.
Not obviously known for travelling, Mr. Ward. How confident would you be of actually getting
He's got
Ward
no
over
choice,
it?
because if we can't agree terms, then we go to purse bid. He ain't going to win a purse bid. They've got no money for it. I mean, I'm talking about to do it in America. Yeah, it's a standard HBO fight, and there's no game. Froch against pound for pound the best fighter in the world.
Oh,
Of course, it's pay-per-view.
Well, it's not. You said it's not. HBO's not.
No, in America, I'm saying it's not HBO pay-per-view. In America.
In America.
Ward ain't boxed for 2 years nearly.
Yeah.
You know, and he's just not a draw on HBO.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. But Virgil Hunter always tells me off when I start saying bad things about Andre Ward, so I'm not going to do it. I like Andre Ward, but Kell Brook brings the money to the table in that fight. So, but again, look, who knows if it's going to happen? All I can tell you is what's happening, and that is we're talking to BoxNation about if it makes sense for everybody.
So obviously the WBA, when has he got to make a decision about that?
30 days, but I mean, look, I think the WBA would be happy for him just to be active. So if Ward went off and fought Kessler, I don't know, he's looking at the Kessler fight, and Froch for Chavez or Hopkins, I don't think they'd have a major problem. I just think they want to get things moving.
So is it impossible for Froch to not feature in a pay-per-view fight for the rest of his career?
Yes.
Now? So whatever fight,
I mean, well, yes, because he's not going to fight a nobody.
Like, you're not going to do Mac 2?
No, Yusuf Mack was underrated. No, he will always be in pay-per-view fights, because he will only fight again if it's a big fight. There are 4 people in the mix. There are 4 people being talked to: Hopkins, Chavez, Golovkin and Ward. Right? Of those, I don't think he's going to fight Golovkin next. Golovkin will fight on May the 19th, I think, or something, or 16th. But I'm telling you now as well, Rob McCracken fancies a Golovkin fight, and Carl Froch fancies a Golovkin fight. And when that fight is as big as it can be, which is probably in about 10 to 12 months, that fight can happen.
But what, like, they're obviously very vocal, Golovkin's team, Loeffler, etc., about that fight. Yeah. So, what if you're saying to me that McCracken and Froch fancy that?
Because they'll fancy it, but it's, again, I hate to dishearten fans. There's got to be a lot of money in the fight, and in about 10 to 12 months' time, maybe less, that fight will be pay-per-view on HBO.
What, you mean after Golovkin's profile is raised?
Yeah.
More?
No, not. Look, I always get people going to me on Twitter, how can you say Golovkin Froch isn't pay-per-view? It's not pay-per-view in America. We've been told. It will be, because Golovkin's going like that, and he's a brilliant fighter. And one day he'll get there. And when that time comes, there'll be enough money on the table for Froch to turn around and go...
But you're saying Froch-Ward isn't pay-per-view in America?
No, it's not in America. But Andre Ward... it's a different kind of fight for Carl Froch. It hasn't got the same brutality as the Golovkin fight.
Would Froch take the fight in America
against
Ward?
Don't think he has to. They're not going to come up with the money to give him that fight in America.
When you say they, do you mean Rock Nation?
Or Team Ward, who it's just you've got to remember what Carl Froch has been earning over here and earned from the Wembley fight.
Okay.
This is with the model in the UK, when you become a pay-per-view fighter, you earn considerably more than 95% of all the fighters in America. Now look at their purses, all the top fighters out there. Other than a handful, it's British fighters are lucky once they get to the top.
You mentioned those 4 fighters, so I'm assuming if the Gal is to fight for the world title, which we hope he does. Next month.
Yeah.
Does that put him back in the running?
I think it does. Yeah. If he beats Durrell, I think that puts the Gal in the running. But right now, they're the 4 fighters that there's a conversation ongoing with. I think Chavez and Hopkins are always the front runners, but there is now the Ward possibility. But I don't know whether Froch is going to fight end of May, June, or September.
September.
I know, but end of May is only 11, 12 weeks. So,
You worry at all that if he fights him,
he might not fight.
Yeah.
Listen, he might not fight again. I've said this all along, and people think I'm bluffing. He may not fight again. I'm desperate for him to fight again, not just for a few quid, but because I love to watch Carl Froch fight. It makes my heart race watching him. He's exciting, And British boxing needs Carl Froch.
He would have been if he fights in May, June, he would have been in a year.
Correct. Well done. That's very, very impressive.
I was just saying, it's a long time for a fight. It's a long time for someone like Froch to be out.
It is. But he has kept himself 12 stone 7, 12 stone 8 the whole time. He doesn't drink. He doesn't eat badly. He's always fit. So it affects him less than others.
Okay, final question about Froch. When could we or fans expect news about a Carl Froch fight? Roughly. I'm not asking for a date.
I don't know. Could be... I don't think it's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Could be a month. In the next month. I don't know. I don't like putting a time frame on these things because then all of a sudden someone will tweet me and go, you said... so I don't know. He may not fight again. Okay,
Quigg-Frampton, very impressive on the weekend against Chris Avalos. Just to clear up, obviously, was there any connection with you and Avalos in the end? Or
listen, we agreed to work with Chris Avalos during the period before the negotiation started. I knew what was going to happen. The move for us with Carl Moretti and Top Rank, as I told them, was it helps us. They were happy potentially to step aside and let Frampton fight Quigg, and I just felt it gave us more opportunity to make the Quigg-Frampton fight. I've been wanting to make that fight for a long time. Then when the negotiations got underway, I was just part of the negotiations helping out Top Rank. They asked me about the money, they asked me about UK TV revenue, the gate, what it's going to do, and that was about it. just made sense at the time to help Top Rank and give us, you know, an opportunity to try and make the Frampton Quigg fight before. But soon after that, I sat down with Cyclone Promotions, and Jake said to me, look, we're going to do the Avalos fight and then we'll fight Quigg. And he was like, okay.
Since obviously his win and Quigg being in the ring, being interviewed in the post-fight with Team Frampton, it's looking very optimistic from a fan point of view that this fight can actually happen and happen next.
I believe so. I think of all the fights we talk about, Brook, Hearn, Groves, this is the fight that I think will almost certainly happen next. Talks are already underway. I had a great chat with Jake McGuigan on Monday, and there's...
Why aren't you talking to Barry McGuigan about it?
I think Jake's handling a lot of the business side. Barry's a very passionate, emotional man. Sometimes Jake's very calm and sort of. And I think my relationship with Barry, I'd like to think he feels like we did a good job with Frampton. I feel as though we did. I think I respect him as a fighter. I think he's also done a good job with Frampton. But I just, we've been over it. I had a decision to make, and I made a decision that I felt was right for me at the time. And I've got no hard feelings towards any of them. But I think that Barry's, that kind of person that sometimes this is a business, and you can't let your emotion or your heart or your passion get in the way of making common sense business decisions, which can happen if you're so passionate about something. And I just feel that we got a better chance of making the fight if the majority of those conversations are probably had with Jake. Very bright, we get on well, and I'm sure Barry will be involved in the negotiations as well. But the first point of contact was with Jake. We had a great conversation on Monday night, and everybody wants to fight. There's not one person that doesn't want to fight.
Yeah, so both fighters want to fight, their side wants to fight, you want to fight, but there's these little niggling little points. First thing, where would the fight be?
Do you want me to do it point at a time?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't care. That's the answer. You can have it in Belfast, you can have it in Manchester, you can have it in London.
Where does it make more sense to you?
Where it makes more money. And I don't like people tweet me, it's just about the money for you. I'm representing my fighter. The fighter gets the money. I don't get the money. I work for the fighter. Of course, if the fighter does well in this kind of scenario, so am I. But my job is to maximise the earnings of my client, Scott Quigg. So, in that respect, and by the way, so is theirs. And don't be fooled by got to do it for the good of the boxing, good for boxing. Of course, that's important. We have to make this fight because we're obligated to make this fight for the fans. We also have to make sure that when a fight of this magnitude arrives, maybe once in their lifetime and once in their career, they're so lucky to have each other, two super bantamweights, two world champions in the same division, both from Britain. It's a great opportunity for them. We've got to make it happen for them. Let them have a chance to set themselves up for life, set their families up for life. And to do that, you have to maximise all revenue areas. So let's look at the venue. Can we do 30 or 40,000 outdoors in Belfast? If we can only do 20 or 25,000, we have to go indoors because the costs of staging an event outdoors just don't make sense. So the MEN, it's in Manchester, but Carl would probably bring 7, 8, 9,000 to the show. Do it in London. I don't mind.
Didn't Barry say though in that interview that do it London, Manchester, wherever as well?
You can say things, in the heat of the moment, and maybe when it comes down to it, I could say to him, well, you did say that. No. All I can tell you is this: Scott Quigg, and I believe Kell Brook as well, do not care where that fight is. And you know what? I don't really care where that fight is as well. But we all have an obligation to make sure we make the right business decision in terms of where that fight is.
Broadcaster.
It's really simple. What's the offers? So I spoke to Jake.
What does more numbers?
What do you mean?
What would do more numbers? It being on ITV?
What do you think?
Well,
that's a ridiculous question.
Well, no, just answer the question then. So,
ITV.
Yeah. So if they're more interested in, say, the profile of the fighter than money.
Who is more interested?
Well, I'm just saying, for example.
It's absolute. I mean, I really hate to be like brutal here, but look, this is a conversation with a fighter. Listen, you've got this opportunity here to box. I can pay you this much, or I can pay you double. But if you take half the money, the good news is the profile's fantastic. Or do you think that the profile on Sky Sports is not fantastic? I mean, you're not talking about like some little subscription, like little minute channel. You're talking about the biggest sports broadcaster, one of the biggest sports broadcasters in the world. You can't have that conversation with a fighter. I'd be laughed out of town. I was talking to Kell Brook about it yesterday, about Quigg-Frampton.
But what do they think? What do the McGuigans and Frampton's team think about ITV, being on ITV and earning more money on Sky but more exposure on ITV?
One, we have to know what the offers are first. Yeah. There's an obvious benefit and advantage of going on ITV in terms of the numbers. No one disputes that. It was great to see ITV back in boxing. More broadcasters the better. Now we've got to see, can they pull up a big rights fee? Because I'll tell you what, the rights fee from Sky is going to be huge for this fight. And then what you do is, as my job will always be the same, I will present the opportunities to my client. And if they want to box on ITV for whatever numbers they offer, and if Scott wants to do the same, he can box. That's no problem with me at all. But all I can tell you, knowing every fight that I've ever dealt with, there is not one fighter out there that doesn't want to make sure they get paid the most money possible for every fight they're in. And when you get an opportunity, two great fighters like this, to put it all on the line for 2 world titles, I'm maximising every penny I can for my client. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be doing a good job and I wouldn't be a good promoter. That's what I have to do. There are, like I said, if it's marginal in the money, I can understand the argument. Well, ITV, well, that's doing big numbers. It's not going to be marginal. So it's up to the fighters. By the way, that's what I'm going back to. If Scott Quigg and Quigg-Frampton want to say considerably less money for boxing on another channel, I do not have a problem with that happening.
Right. Is this Sky pay-per-view?
Yes.
Have you previously said that it wasn't?
I said, I think the last conversation we had on it, which was a couple of months ago, I said...
Might have been longer than that.
Yeah, it probably was. Probably 5 or 6 months ago. I'm not sure if it was pay-per-view. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Is it building? Is it building? Absolutely. As the ITV fight on Saturday turned it into a pay-per-view fight, well, if it wasn't before, it certainly is now. If I get that fight on Sky, it will be a box office fight.
Okay. September, if it is going to happen, would it be then?
No, June.
June? Really?
The discussions with Cyclone on Monday were about end of June.
That's very good.
That's what?
That's very good.
Oh, right, good. Is that a good time for you, is it?
I was just saying, I thought it was mentioned September, potentially.
No. I mean, look, Scott's ready to fight end of May, June, and he's had a hand injury. He's going to come straight back into the fight. I think Frampton will be looking to go one more time before the end of the summer anyway, so I really think he'll get made. And you know, the job now of myself and they'll go away, they'll speak to ITV, they'll come back with the numbers, I'll do the same, and we'll all sit down and we'll present it to the fighters, and then we'll see what they want to do.
Okay. And I'll keep asking you about the 25th show, but we're yet to...
So with DeGale, Durrell, we've got a purse bid next week. I think a deal will be done before then. I've made them a huge offer. I think Al Heyman and Goosen, who is 2 representatives, believe it's a great offer as well, and just a case of getting a kid to come. But you know, there's certain things that he's asked for in the contract which I've delivered, and if it goes to purse bids, he's not going to get those things. So I think it makes sense for him to take the fight. I know he's got his reservations about coming to the UK.
Isn't time running out for you for that show?
It's 7 weeks on Saturday, so ideally we'd like an announcement end of this week. Tickets on sale next week. So, but the purse bid's middle of next week. So I think we're okay at the moment, but we definitely want to get a move on.
And as regards to that show, Joshua Johnson,
Selby Gradovich done. Joshua Johnson. Mitchell Linares is in the works as well.
What, for that day?
Possibly, yeah. But that might come in May. We've got so many fights to schedule. I mean, you know, we've got the return of Froch. We've got Kell Brook, Touchwood. He wins on March 28th. He's defending a big fight in the summer. We've got Tony Bellew back from filming, going to be in a world title fight in the summer. We've got Kevin Mitchell against Jorge Linares. We've got Coyle against Campbell. We've got Anthony Crolla in a world title fight in the summer. We've got Scott Quigg against Quigg-Frampton. These are all in the summer months. It's going to be really difficult to do.
Talking to Tony Bellew.
Yeah.
What happened?
I'm not sure how much truth's in it. I messaged him the other night. I said, mate, what's going on? He went, oh, it's all rubbish.
What was meant to have happened?
A punch up. He's got out of the ring and chinned someone on set. That's what how the story read.
But he tweeted and said it's absolute rubbish, obviously.
So, I don't know. I haven't seen Tony. I mean, I'm speaking to him most days, but just via WhatsApp, because obviously he's over there.
Yeah.
And needs to get back, getting training.
And Froch is lining up a film career as well.
He's got a film coming up as well.
Once Upon a Time in London.
Yeah. It's just like a Brit flick, you know. Carl loves doing different things. You know, saw him on Tumble, saw him on the dance show. Just keep him busy. But
my mate's doing that film.
Really? Terry Stone. Yeah, that's who he's mates with. Who's dealing with. Yeah. So, I just want to see Carl Froch back in the ring, just as a fight fan. I think that British boxing's not strong without him.
Obviously, Mayweather Pacquiao taking over everything at the moment, etc., etc. Did sort of kind of speak to you after the fight. You said that you pursue potential Hearn Brook Avenue. Have you heard anything about when?
No, I've had a meeting with his dad and his uncle and Sarge as well, and I can't see that fight happening prior to the summer period. I think looks like they might box in May in America. It's disappointing, but I'm not gonna go in on them. I just feel like early June is a chance for that fight to happen. Still, there's a chance to make that happen. But hopefully we can do so towards the end of the year. But if we do, it's the outdoor capabilities, maybe the Millennium Stadium. I don't know, but I don't think we're going to get Brook Hearn in the summer.
Okay. Have you got anything else?
I think we might get Brooke Marquez or Brooke Rios.
Bramall Lane.
Yeah.
Exciting times.
It's a great time. It's great times for British boxing. I mean, I know that people on Twitter like to go on about, oh, he's doing that and he's doing that, but if you sit back, it's really good. Everyone's trying. Everyone's trying to make big fights all the time. Not just in Britain, all over the world. I mean, it's very interesting what's happening in America at the moment. Now you've got 7 broadcasters taking boxing, and it's good times.
All right, unless you've got anything else to add, my battery's just about to run out, I think.
Good timing, old boy.
Nothing else to add?
No.
All right. Eddie Hearn, thanks for talking to IFL TV. Thanks for your insightful thoughts.
Oh, thank you.
Telling the viewers too much information.
As usual.
Sorry.
And that is a weakness, but I just try and get it across. The thing that the hardest thing is, if we've got time with this on the back,
go on.
It's like I don't want to just make out that be saying, oh, it's just all about. But you can't sit down with a fighter and say, listen, I know this is a really tough fight and this is an opportunity for you to really secure your financial future and your families, but take a little bit less money for me. And it's good because people talk about, oh, if the fight was on terrestrial TV and it would be better for them in the long run. This is the pinnacle for them. This kind of fight probably won't come around for them again. They can earn millions out of this fight. And your battery's about to go.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry to be honestly brutal, but, this is a tough sport and these boys deserve every penny they get.
just stopped, but I just want to say thank you very much for your time today.
No problem.
In the car. Alright, Quigg & Cass's, Eddie Hearn, IFL TV.